How much is your data worth? Well, it depends on who's using your data and for what purpose. Sorry, is it data or data? Sorry, English is my second language, so I'm probably going to use both interchangeably throughout this video. Maybe. But the data broker industry is a $200 billion a year industry. Data brokers are companies that collect, aggregate, and sell consumer data to other businesses. And this data is used for a variety of reasons, like marketing, advertising, and credit scoring, for example. But not all data brokers are created equal. Some are ethical and transparent in their practices, and others engage in more deceptive and unethical behavior. Now, I do want to explain that there are companies that are specifically called data brokers, meaning that is what their actual jobs are. But then there are companies that do what data broker companies do without being called data brokers. For example, Facebook, Twitter, basically any social media company that you interact with, they sell your information to advertisers. But we don't necessarily call them data brokers per se, but that's in fact what they're doing. So what I'd like to do in this video is just kind of cover the differences between the good data brokers and the ones that are not necessarily as good, in my opinion. I gotta make sure I throw that my opinion in there because I don't want no lawsuits from any of these companies after I show you what's up. We may think I don't have any social media like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or any social media presence, so I don't have any data to share. Well, that's not exactly true. You see, if you have an email, you have data. If you've downloaded an app on your phone, you have data. If you go to the doctor, you have data. Have a smart TV, file taxes, make an income, have a bank account, you have data. And that's where today's video sponsor, Incogni, comes to the rescue. You see, these data brokers are selling our information to whomever will buy it. It could be 1, 10, 100, or thousands of companies. And if you were to try to contact each one of them on your own to get your data removed, it would take 1, 10, 100, or thousands of hours to do it. I know I don't have all the time to be sitting here sending email after email requesting for my information to be removed from these data brokers, but Incogni does. And when you sign up to Incogni, you give them the right to work on your behalf, and they get to work right away. They begin contacting data brokers to remove your data, some of which you've heard of, and tons that you may not have. I've personally used Incogni to remove myself from data brokers, and it's been pretty cool to see how many they've reached out to on my behalf and seeing the process of being removed. Incogni has reached out to 78 data brokers on my behalf to get my information removed, and so far over half of them have been completed, which gives me peace of mind knowing less of my information is out there being sold without my consent. Once your data is removed, you get an email from these companies saying, "Hey, we've deleted your data." Now, the first 100 people to use the code HACKER at the link below will get 60% off of Incogni. Click the link below and start taking control of your data, because as you'll see later in this video, it's pretty scary what's out there for each and everyone to see. Your data, my data, it's all out in the world, but most data being collected privately about you is not being used to harm or stalk you, but rather to make your online experience and life a little easier and simpler. But this is the internet, and as we've seen with scammers, you're not entirely safe. You have to keep a close eye that you're not sharing your information with suspicious websites, companies, or even people. Good data brokers prioritize transparency and consumer privacy, meaning that they're clear and open about their data collection practices and also the type of data that they collect. They also ensure that the data they collect is accurate and up to date, making it more valuable to businesses that purchase it. One key aspect of a good data broker is that they allow consumers to control how their data is used. And this means that consumers can choose whether or not to share their data and specify how they want their data to be used. So for example, a consumer may choose to share their email address with a company for marketing purposes, but opt out of having their data sold to a third party. Good data brokers also do not engage in deceptive practices or sell data to malicious actors. Now, they prioritize ethical data collection practices and adhere to the legal guides that they need to for data collection and for privacy protection. They also regularly review their data collection practices to ensure that they're in line with evolving consumer privacy concerns and legal regulations. Many people still fear them due to a lack of understanding of how their practices work and fear that their personal information will be misused or sold to bad actors without their consent. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but there was a time where I was having a conversation with one of my friends about putting my kid into a karate class. When about an hour to 2 hours later, I was scrolling through my social media and I started getting all these ads or recommendations for karate classes in my area. And at first I was like, what the heck? But then I realized that I'd also been searching on Google for karate classes in my area. Google, we know, collects data. So they were feeding that into my social media feed, and then it all kind of came together. This is why it's important for us to kind of read through the privacy policies and also take a look at the permissions that we're giving certain apps that we download. Personally, I didn't mind the recommendations because it was something that we were actively looking into. Consumers could take comfort in knowing that good data brokers are regulated and held to legal standards for data collection and privacy protection. They can also take proactive steps to protect their data privacy by being mindful of the type of information that they're sharing online, reading privacy policies carefully, and taking advantage of opt-out options whenever possible. Nielsen is a data brokerage company that specializes in media measurement and analytics. They collect data on television and radio viewership, internet usage, and consumer behavior. Nielsen is considered a good data broker because they're transparent about their data collection practices and offer consumers the opportunity to opt out of data collection. They also prioritize data security and have strict policies in place to protect the privacy of their users. An unethical practice among what I consider bad data brokers, this is my opinion of course, is the sale of personal information like medical or financial information without the knowledge of the consumer. It can also include your personal information like your name, your address, your known associates, your emails, and so forth and so on. This information could be used for identity theft and could cause significant harm to the consumer. Bad data brokers use deceptive practices to sell consumer data for their own profit, often without regard for the harm that it could cause. So consumers should be aware of the signs of a bad data broker, such as a lack of transparency or the collection of personal information without their knowledge or consent. And they should take steps to protect themselves from these unethical practices, such as getting incognito. An example is the case of the data broker called Spokeo, which was sued by a consumer for publishing inaccurate information about him online. The Supreme Court ruled in 2016 that the consumer had the right to sue Spokeo as the publication of inaccurate information could cause harm to his job prospects as well as other aspects of his life. Bad data brokers can use your information in a variety of harmful ways. They can sell your information to other companies or malicious actors who can then use it for identity theft, fraud, or other illegal activities, which could lead to financial losses, damaged credit, and other negative consequences. They could also use your information to target you with unwanted or deceptive advertising. For example, if a data broker sells your personal information to an advertising company, you may start seeing targeted ads for products and services that you did not consent to or don't even want. They can also use your personal information to engage in discrimination, such as denying you access to certain services or opportunities based on your race, gender, or other protected characteristics. This could have long-lasting effects on your life and career. And last but not least, they may simply collect your personal information without adequate security measures, leaving it vulnerable to hacking or data breaches, which could obviously lead to your information being leaked and used for malicious purposes. So, to summarize, bad data brokers can use your personal information in ways that harm your privacy, your security, and your financial well-being. So it's important to be aware of the risks and take steps to protect yourself, such as being cautious about sharing personal information online and monitoring your credit and financial accounts. Now, look, if you live in the USA, I'm not going to sugarcoat this, but there is way too much information about people so easily available, which can work against you, especially when a scammer gets a hold of that information. So let me show you some of these sites that I think you should remove yourself from, like yesterday, or the day before, or a year ago. All right, so there are a lot of websites, but the three that I want to focus on are True People Search, Fast People Search, and thatsthem.com. In True People Search, you put in someone's name, it'll come up with every person who has that name, and it'll give you their birth date, their address, their phone numbers, their email addresses, associated names, previous addresses, possible relatives, possible associates. I mean, they know each and everything about you. It's insane. On thatsthem.com, you could search someone by name, address, phone number, email, IP, and even VIN number, which is insane. So I put in the phone number of someone and boom, primary residence, phone number, email address, actually says their birth date as well. And when we look at Fast People Search, I mean, they have 16.5 billion records available of 800 million unique people. But if you want to get your data removed, you go to Do Not Sell My Information, and then you have to go and fill out this form. Now, you may not want to go through hundreds, if not thousands, of these sites filling out their do not sell my information forms or opting out of whatever information they have that's yours, but do a little bit of an exercise. Look yourself up in these sites and see if you find yourself. And if you do, and if you value your personal information and you don't necessarily want it to be out there in the public, then you may want to consider today's video sponsor. My whole goal when I started this channel was to see if I could find ways to educate people. So I hope you found this video somewhat educational, and I really hope that you take the necessary steps to get yourself off of any of these bad broker sites that you may be on. If you like what I'm doing on the channel, please make sure you hit that thumbs up button and also subscribe if you haven't had a chance to. And if you'd like to support the channel, since YouTube, my friend, has demonetized me, please consider signing up for my Patreon. I have 3 levels there, and it's a great way for you to support the channel, or you can buy me a coffee. And I will talk to you next time. Peace.
Pregúntese a sí mismo cómo sería si lo ridiculizó. Si usted se cree muy listo, es porque aquí usted no se...
Nielsen ratings. The only people that give a crap about that stuff are wrestling marks. Oh crap, it's still on.